Picture this incredibly stark divide. You have an ash gray mountain completely consumed by industrial coldness, just crushing down on a tiny, almost fragile amber window in the valley below. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're taking a deep philosophical journey into a really captivating Gothic fable. It's a story that explores that terrifying space between absolute negation and subjective creation. I mean, think about it. What actually happens when you strip away every single human construct until you're standing right at the very edge of the abyss?
Okay, let's dive into this because we usually think of nihilism as this ultimate dead end, right? Like some dark room where meaning just goes to die. But look at it from this angle. Nihilism is not a destination, it is a direction. That completely changes things. If you walk far enough into the unknown, you don't just hit a brick wall. Instead, you arrive at a threshold where nothingness ends and the next thing, something entirely unnamed and unasked for, actually begins.
Section 1. The Edge of the Void. This is the philosophical threshold of the Baron's journey. So here we meet the Baron. He's known as the most correct man in the valley, and he has reached the absolute limits of his precision. He's walked the path of nihilism all the way to its edge. Now, the Baron represents cosmic nihilism. He's all about destroying external truths until meaning is exposed as just a fragile illusion. But totally counter to him is the concept of subjective creation, embodied by the Bard. Where the Baron sees this tragic, macro-level collapse of objective truth, a sovereign soul sees total freedom. The meaningless universe doesn't stay dead. It simply transforms into an empty canvas, a personal workshop.
This intense deconstruction process is known as the second sloughing. Let's move to and see how this builds, because it's kind of brutal. Step 1, you peel away all human meaning, history, poetry, everything. Step 2, you arrive at the absolute edge of the void. But here's the catch. Destruction isn't the final act. Step 3 is the inevitable emergence of the unnamed next thing. When all your certainty burns away, what actually rises from the ash?
Section 2. The Cold Anti-Light. The Great Star of Negation versus the Amber Window. We find the Baron standing at the very crown of the Brocken, bathed under the Great Star of Negation. It's this chilling, cold anti-light that actually casts shadows upwards into the blackness. The mountain beneath him is quite literally finished and empty. Imagine standing in an environment that has been completely drained of all human meaning. It's just ground down into a primordial silence. There's absolutely nothing left to teach here.
To put this chronological movement into perspective, exactly 1 year ago, the Baron summoned the mercurial spirit of negation, this grand architect of decay. Today, they've finally reached the mountain's crown, achieving ultimate cosmic emptiness. But as they begin their silent descent, something unprecedented happens. Halfway down the dead mountain, the Baron just freezes. His eyes lock onto a distant, tiny amber window, shining in the dark valley of Weimar. The Baron is suddenly faced with the ultimate crisis. He stares into the abyss, initiating this silent dialogue with the void, wondering, what does a man do when the void actually agrees with him? Think about it. His cold philosophy won. He stripped away everything, and the universe offered absolutely zero resistance. It just yielded. So, when you conquer meaning itself, what's left for the conqueror to actually do?
Section 3. The Sideways Step. An unexpected response from the void.
This is the climactic moment. The gray spirit, which is pure, unresisting absence, just halts. For the first time in a year, it breaks its predictable pattern, turns its back on the Baron, and steps right off the descending path. Drop into that internal viewpoint for a second. Imagine being this grand architect of decay, suddenly taking one step onto the gray ash and experiencing a completely alien, tactile sensation, a spontaneous memory of life amidst the cosmic emptiness. It stood there, pausing in the cosmic emptiness, as if remembering what moss felt like and what it meant to step on something living. Now, what's really interesting about this is how this visceral memory completely defies the Baron's cosmic cynicism. The Baron erased all meaning, yet his own summoned agent of negation is suddenly grieving for the feeling of living moss underfoot. It's a profound realization. Even in absolute destruction, the memory of life rebels. Section 4. Mixing Yellow Mercury. Defiance in a small studio in Weimar. Let's shift our perspective drastically downward. Miles below that desolate mountain, inside a warm, insulated studio window far across the gray valley, a woman sits behind thin curtains. She is mixing the color yellow. But in this world, we're not just talking about paint. This is yellow mercury. It represents the fluid intellect and awakened spirit that naturally arises after the industrial cynicism of the Iron City is stripped away. The Baron cleared the world, and she is using that empty space for a quiet, profound act of subjective creation. And here is the fable's beautiful irony. The Baron's logic is absolutely flawless. His destruction is complete. Yet, that amber light is utterly indifferent to his precision. The woman mixing yellow isn't trying to debate his cosmic creed or fight his philosophy. She is simply creating. And against that simple, warm defiance of a burning lamp, the ultimate negation is entirely powerless.
Section 5. The Sovereign Soul. The transition from absolute negation to internal authority. So the crucial point is how we interpret this lamp. The Baron sought primordial silence, a universe reduced to blank white vellum, basically the complete dissolution of the word. But out of that exact void emerges the sovereign soul. The burning lamp marks the precise transition at the threshold, because when the outside world is finished and empty, the only light left must come from within. You don't disappear into the void, you become your own internal authority. Visualize this. Long after the Baron's descent, a shepherd climbs the dead mountain and finds a single object resting alone on the gray ash. The lamp, left behind as a stubborn vestige of internal authority. It proves that the era of peeling away meaning is over. The light literally survived the void. That stubborn spark of personal truth, that act of creation, outlasted the architect of decay. Nihilism isn't a destination, it's just the direction that gets you to the edge. The Baron reached it and lost his words. The woman in Weimar reached it and started mixing yellow. The collapse of external meaning is honestly just the clearing of the canvas. So I'll leave you with this. What will you create when you finally reach the edge of the void? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I hope it gave you something incredible to think about today.